The people of Ile-Ife in Osun State, southwest Nigeria, the host community of the Obafemi Awolowo University, they have been speaking on why they protested the appointment of Professor Adebayo Bamire as the successor to the institution's outgoing Vice Chancellor, Eyitope Ogunbodede. A group of protesters had stormed the university and blocked its main entrance gates, causing human and vehicular traffic. The protesters had threatened to shut down the institution, accusing the governing council of scheming out an indigene of Ile-Ife from being appointed as the institution's vice chancellor. Joining us now to speak on the crisis over the appointment of Obafemi Awolowo University vice chancellor is the national coordinator of Ife Youths Organization, Abimbola Afolabi. Great to have you on Newsday, and thank you for joining the program.
It's a pleasure to be in the program. Thank you very much.
So we've heard of the events, and there are quite a few questions in our minds. First of all, what is the issue with the candidate? And second of all, why is it that you have, or the youth have chosen to go about this way to protest his succession?
Yeah, first and foremost, let me correct an impression that we have no issue with the elected person. The issue is the process that led to his emergence. And in 2016, something of that also happened, where the Deputy Vice Chancellor to then Professor Omole was the VC, was appointed, and there were issues on campus, and the federal government had to intervene and stop that because Professor Lami was the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Omole. So the system then, they opposed that. How will you come with your deputy to become the Vice Chancellor? So the same thing now, and that led to the emergence of Professor Ogunbodede. So he also, while going now, was trying to hand over to his own deputy. And we believe that our own sons, because we have two persons who are from Ife who aspire to become the VC, having tested them, we know they are qualified. We believe that they were systemically, segregated from being the Vice Chancellor. We believe that the process was manipulated and it was not clear enough. So that was why we raised that.
Okay, I think it's pretty clear that you, from what you said, that you're of the opinion that says the Vice Chancellor is based solely on merit, but without consideration of indigenship. That's a quote I'm taking. So are you saying that it's because that factor of indigenship was not considered that you think, or that those who are disgruntled think that the process was breached, or what other facts are there on ground? And
not only that, this is the 12th VC that OAU will be having. And we have never for once raised objection to anybody being picked. Whether Ife, we have had administration whereby we have Ife who contested. In 2001 or thereabout, we have Ife who contested, but we never came out to say yes, but we believe and we have concrete information that this system was compromised. And just because, yes, we believe that merit is what the system, goes for. But at the same time, too, those who are qualified should not be disqualified because they are Ife. Our persons we are sure is qualified. What the law says is that you must be a professor of 10 years standing. You must have numbers of qualification, paper written, and you must have been dean. So all these things are satisfied by our own person, too. So we don't know why they start allotting marks to you being a DVC, you being this, you being that, just to favor their own candidate. So we believe strictly that that process was compromised. And I tell you that I had my first degree, my second degree, my third degree in OAU. I know it is not as easy for professors to come around and within 1 hour resolve to have a candidate. They called a meeting for 3 o'clock and they announced their candidate for 4 o'clock. Who does that? So we believe that our persons was came out of the system.
Now, the university is insisting that due process was followed and that the VC was appointed based on merit. So what is the way forward now that it seems that both sides are not willing to shift ground?
We are calling on the visitor of the university, the president of the country, the minister of education, and all of our relevant stakeholders to look into the process. What we are asking for is a review of that process. I tell you, up till now, nobody can say this is what they used, this is what they did, this is what it has been so secretive. And we even had it rumors that they sworn to oath of secrecy. When we start that, appointing VC, then you have to swear to an oath of secrecy. There's nothing secret in appointing a VC. So what we are demanding for is that the federal government should review that process and look at the criteria for scoring candidates. And if at the end of the day, our own person is not qualified, we will know that, and is not picked, we will know that. And let me say this, that we are not opposing Professor Banire. In fact, record have it that they came from Ife, their union came from Ife. So if he's the person that was eventually picked, so be it. But we don't want him to sit on the throne that was illegally.
Can I interrupt you there? We are talking about an academic institution now. We are not talking about a traditional stool or a traditional throne. Do you think we should actually be fighting over indigenship? This is an academic institution.
Yes, there is this sentiment outside that we are opposing to emergence of Professor Banire, and that's why I'm trying to correct that. No, it's not because it's not from Ife. No. It's because of the process that brought him. That is what we are fighting. And again, is that, see, this is not the first time that issues like this will come up. University of Benin, UNIBEN, did the same thing. They canvassed for their own candidates. University of Ibadan did the same thing. UNILON did the same thing. UniCalabar did the same thing. So if we are also demanding for this, it is not actually wrong, but that is not even the bone of contention. Our argument is that the process was manipulated, the process was under secrecy, and we want it to be transparent as it used to be.
Well, pending the review of your grouse, what steps are going to be taken to make sure that these protests are actually peaceful? Because we have reports that students are also being harassed, attacked, beaten, and whatnot. So why if that's actually true, I'm not sure they're going to confirm that or deny it.
It's not true.
But,
it's not true.
But is there another means by which you can make sure your voice is heard without putting students in harm's way who have nothing to do with this fight?
You see, many of us, we have friends, we have children, we have brothers and sisters on that campus. So we're not going to expose them to danger. And we try as possible to make sure that the protest was peaceful, not destructive, and that we are still maintaining up to now. And I tell you that nobody was beaten, nobody was harassed. If anybody has any evidence where anybody was being beaten, let them come for it. Nobody was beaten, and we're going to ensure that no casualty. And up to now, I tell you, see, if this is not being handled by the literate in the community, you'll have seen another thing. But thank God is that the letters in the community are the one handling this, and are trying to prevent street boys hijacking it. And up to now, I tell you, nobody was beaten, nobody was molested, and we have been trying to be peaceful as we could. And we are also calling on the federal government. We are not relenting, because the push that we are sworn to achieve, that this process must be looked into and be seen that it's transparent enough to see that credibility and competence comes into play. Because you cannot tell us that somebody who has over 200 publications is not qualified, and somebody who has less than 40 qualifications is qualified. You can't tell somebody who has won about 6 grants to the university is not qualified. Somebody who has not won any grant at all is not qualified. Somebody who has about 20,000 plus citations is not qualified. Somebody who has not up to 200 is qualified. So we want to believe that there is a scheme somewhere, that there's a cabal that is working against our interests, and that's what we are trying to get against.
Well, you know how public perception goes. Once a story is out there, no matter how much you try to say something didn't happen, we have been hearing that people were disturbed, or if not beaten, they were scared nonetheless. My question is now, you have a solid point and a solid grouse, and as an educational institution, there are processes and ways things are done in order to get your voice heard. Unfortunately, the way things have played out, your voice is not going to be heard. All is heard is the aggression, the violence, and the discombobulation. My question to you now is there not another way that it could have been carried out so that you all get your point across and it doesn't create all this confusion in the media that you say can be manipulated? As educators or as intellectuals, I would assume that another thought process would be applied rather than force, confusion, and discombobulation. But that's just public perception.
Yes, I agree with you. And I think before the announcements, we've called on press conference where we invited pressmen to push forward our demands. We have written letter to various stakeholders telling them what we want. And what we are canvassing for is objectivity and transparency of the system. And on that day, that Thursday, we were there just to celebrate that we have this system around, and unfortunately, it didn't go that way. And ideally, the constitution just came up because there is this utterances made by the acting that going by Vice Chancellor. In one of the outings, he said, and people are quoting him, that if a man is actually competent, but he cannot be VC because he's an Ife man. So if you get to the street of Ife now, you see people having that kind of mindset that because an Ife man is an Ife man, he cannot become VC. And for crying out loud, we're also Nigerians, and we're also qualified to become the Vice Chancellor. So that's why you see it. And I tell you that we are not going to be destructive, and we are taking, the king called us, and that's why we stop the protest for now. And we're expecting that interventions will come in, because the Commissioner of Police came around and also discussed with us, and that's why we pull out of the streets. And we are hoping that what they told us, that the President will review, is also akin to.
Now, some people believe that you are trivializing issues. I mean, for instance, ASU is on strike. The educational standard in Nigeria is declining. And here you are fighting over who becomes appointed as the VC of the University of Ife. What's your reaction to that?
Thank you very much. You see, prior to that protest, there has been no disturbance at all to the academic activities on campus. Students were going on lecture, even despite ASU strike. On campus, you have two unions. You have the Conras, you have the ASU. And the Conras are taking up their academic activities, so the strike was not actually felt like that. So, you see, it's just a pity that this is coming at this time. One cannot fold our hands and allow it just to go like that. This has nothing to do with the academic of the institution, the academic process of the institution. What we are also asking for is that as long as we are also appealing to ASU and the federal government to come to play and to agree on terms and conditions for work to go on, we also want to also appeal to them as also look at our own grievances too, and also put that put that as a factor to consider. We are not trivializing the issue. That is our own concern. That's what affects us most, and that's what we're pushing forward.
If your terms and conditions aren't met, like what you anticipate, you don't get the response that you hope for, what's the end game? We are praying that our demands are met. We are not going to do anything, but we continue to push forward. So if you don't get the response you anticipate, nothing will happen.
Well, okay, let's put it this way.
I will say not to
No, let's put it this way. The fact that there's been a new VC appointed, Professor
No VC has been appointed yet.
We know that Adebayo Banire has been, appointed as the Vice Chancellor, even though
he has not been appointed.
Sworn in. So
it's the federal government that will make the appointment, not the council.
No, the council has chosen Banire. Okay. You are not happy with that.
Okay.
But in the event that the federal government, gives the go-ahead, approves that choice, you could push, for his successor to be an Ife man.
When we get to the river, we'll also look at how to cross the bridge. But for now, what is on ground is that we are appealing to the federal government to review the process. And let Professor Banire himself be comfortable, if at all he emerged to become the VC, be comfortable on that chair he will be sitting, that this chair is clean, is devoid of manipulation, and is transparent as it used to be. And let me say this, that the issue of the traditionalists that came on board, it has been issues that we have been contending with. You see, nobody, even myself and members of the community, nobody will wish the OAU community or the system to have casualty. So what they actually did was to offer prayers to God, to allow peace to reign, to allow things to go down the way.
I apologize, but we are completely out of time. We have overrun the time. We thank you so much for joining the program this afternoon and coming to share your opinion on the events.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.